Britain's space industry is thriving. After years of relative obscurity, space is back at the forefront of government priorities as the focus shifts to the commercial potential offered by revolutionary small satellite technology and the data those spacecraft can collect. But Britain's decision to quit the EU has cast a shadow over a sector that relies on international cooperation.
Brexit may mean Brexit for the Prime Minister, Theresa May, but for the industry it's not so clear. We're here in Manchester, where the industry has gathered without the politicians to talk about its future.
And that future depends in part on Britain's participation in the EU-funded space programmes Galileo and Copernicus. UK companies have benefited significantly from these multi-billion-euro programmes.
So the UK industry has quite a lot of concerns as we head towards Brexit. The most immediate short-term concern is the fact that the EU is actually a big customer in its own right, so the big EU space programmes Galileo and Copernicus. So the continued participation of the UK in those programmes is uppermost in our minds.
Politicians have been silent about the terms of Britain's continued participation. They're keeping their powder dry for the tough negotiations to come after Britain's general election on June the 8th. In the absence of a deal with Brussels, there is only one certainty.
The conditions of Brexit as it is today, meaning UK is leaving the EU without any special relation. If this is really the case, and I'm really hoping this will never be the case, then it would mean that after leaving, UK's companies are not eligible to be part of that.
This lack of clarity is giving ambitious European rivals the chance to plant doubts in Brussels about the wisdom of involving UK companies in consortia bidding for contracts. Surrey Satellite Technology is a key supplier to Germany's OHB on Galileo, the satellite navigation service.
I think there are some signs that other European players who have an interest in gaining a bigger share of some of these European projects, such as Galileo, perhaps are taking advantage of this Brexit negotiation to try to position themselves as a safer or perceived safer alternative.
They see, a weakness in the UK and an opportunity to take work share. So for sure, yeah, that's going to happen.
The European Space Agency, which only manages the projects on behalf of the EU, is clearly frustrated by the silence emanating from London and Brussels. The absence of UK expertise, such as in secure communications, could lead to challenges that the agency would rather not face. Mr. Werner has suggested a radical step to keep UK companies in the programmes until the politicians reach agreement.
So one possibility is, of course, to move part of the company to the continent. So this is a solution, but I hope that the politicians in London and in Brussels will find also long-term solutions like we have with Switzerland and Norway already.
Mr. Werner's suggestion caused a stir in Manchester and in the UK government. Many said it simply wasn't realistic, but it did focus officials on the risk that Brexit could impede the momentum built up in recent years. The UK space industry has more than doubled its size over the last decade. But just as Brexit has its challenges, it has its opportunities too.
I do think, if anything, we're beginning to see that we're a bit more competitive now. It's been relatively easier for us to export. We've found that there's a lot of support already, that the kind of mood music from central government has been quite supportive of us as a company that really is entirely focused on export outside of the EU.
What we've heard is that there will be both opportunities and challenges from Britain's decision to leave the EU. But what industry really needs from government, if it's to maintain momentum, is clarity. Peggy Hollinger, Financial Times, Manchester.